Welcome to the channel. Watch this video if you want to know how to make the best fried pizza you've ever tasted, and that is assuming that you have eaten fried pizza before, because if you haven't, then it definitely will be. Plus 7 essential tips for frying anything that is food. Rolling with the food. This dough is a veritable pastiche of 4 different pizza makers' ideas, and I am one of them, because this dough is based on my same night pizza recipe. Check it out. Right there. But it was actually devising that same night pizza recipe that inspired me to make this one. So you can be enjoying this recipe same night as well. There have been a few significant updates to that recipe though. It's got less yeast for one, so not quite as fast. I will be providing instructions on how to both cold ferment and to room ferment this dough. Why you would do one over the other has very little to do with the overall quality and more to do with what your schedule looks like and how you intend to stuff these pizzas and what with, if at all, to be honest. One of the biggest revelations I had whilst putting this video together is just how many different ways you can use this dough, and I will be making more videos using some of these ideas. There's a single speciality ingredient in this whole recipe, and it is this stuff, polydextrose. Polydextrose powder. It's optional, but highly recommended. An entire kilo costs only $20, or sorry, 900 grams, but £2. And you only use a small amount. And it provides a boost for the crispiness of just about any pizza, especially thin ones. I've tried this recipe without it, and it was still great, but the polydextrose just tips it over the edge. Tips it over the edge. Tips it over the edge. Not to mention that it can probably be used for many other things that I've got no idea about. No idea. And the rest of the ingredients are all normal supermarket fare. Along with the polydextrose, I added russet potatoes, and was quite frankly a culinary epiphany. They're included here to elevate the texture. Add exactly 100 grams peeled and cubed potatoes to cold/room temp water. Turn on the heat and bring to the boil. After about 7 or 8 minutes, check for doneness by sticking a knife in the potatoes, and if they slip off the knife quickly and easily, they're ready to strain. You should have all the rest of your ingredients weighed out. Here's a refresher. You can substitute the apple cider vinegar for a different vinegar and the bread flour for all purpose, and you already know you can omit the polydextrose, but don't go crazy besides that. I don't want to see you on the I didn't have eggs subreddit. Place all the dry ingredients except the salt together and then put the salt aside. Make sure it's far away from everything, because not adding the salt yet is a crucial step, and I've accidentally put it in at the beginning numerous times. Now we're going to mix our wet ingredients together, adding the buttermilk to the water, then the vinegar. The larger amount of unsalted butter will go in the fridge to chill, and the smaller amount will go in the microwave to be melted. Now we're going to add the potatoes to the other wet stuff and blend together. Take your time on this one. Make sure it's absolutely silky smooth. Now whisk the dry ingredients together to ensure eventual even distribution. And spoiler alert, I am using a mixer for this dough. It can be done with your hands, but it's a little bit more involved than your average dough. I'll explain more at the end of the chapter. Once the wet ingredients are in the mixer and turned on, we're going to add the dry ingredients, all except the salt and the smaller amount of unsalted melted butter. Mix it all together for about 6 or 7 minutes. You should see it already becoming elasticy. And then we're going to rest covered at room for 15 minutes. After those 15 minutes, it'll be time to incorporate the cold cubed larger amount of unsalted butter, 1 piece at a time on the lowest setting on your mixer. Once you've added all the butter, now it's time to add the salt and give it another 2 to 3 minutes mix. There will be detailed instructions in the description for every stage, but these last couple of steps are really important to get the absolute best results. After those last few minutes of mixing, pull a piece of the dough out and stretch it. If you can see light through it without it ripping, she's ready. We're going to put her back in the bowl and give her another rest. Computer, set timer for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
Thanks, computer. I said thanks.
You're so welcome. Your kindness really gives me a charge.
Oh.
Almost every step is the same if you're mixing by hand. You'll just have to make each stage a few minutes longer. And the stage where you add the butter piece by piece at the end, first it's going to feel like something's wrong. It's going to feel all oily and slippery and it'll tear apart pretty easy. But just persevere with it, keep going, and it'll end up looking silky smooth, baby. In the next video I'm going to do about fried pizza, I will do the whole thing by hand and have a demonstration for it. And whenever that video is published, you'll see it right there.
Sometimes I fry slow, sometimes I fry quick. I'm more thick and tasty than a garlic bread stick. There's a fried calzone, baby. Take a lick. Did try a variety of methods for stuffing the final pizza. That's what really taught me just how versatile the dough really is and frying it can be. I tried stuffing it straight after the initial rest, then proofing it in the fridge. I tried proofing it entirely at room temperature, then shaping and stuffing it right before frying it. The main problem I was trying to avoid was leaving things like cheese and meats, although cured, out at room temperature for extended periods of time, while also trying to avoid degassing the dough too much, thereby, losing its final volume. So the final method that I settled on is a mix of the two, and it will be explained in the next chapter, and it works for both cold and room temp proofing. So ideal. But I do urge you to experiment with this stage as it can really inspire some good ideas.
After the second 15-minute rest, it's time to divide the balls up. For the calzone looking pieces that you've seen throughout the video, I used 100 grams for each ball. Seems like a sweet spot, but play around with it. Make as many different shapes and sizes as you want. Roll your balls into neat little spheres and then proof them at room temperature, covered with handy dandy plastic wrap or a wet towel, it's up to you, for 3 to 4 hours. After that time, shape the balls into little discs and fill with your desired stuffing. I went with low moisture mozzarella and some cured meats from Boar's Head and Bridgeford. And my method to get the ooeyest gooeyest cheese was to do it a little bit like this. Piece of cheese, some meat, piece of cheese, some meat, piece of cheese. And then fold it over, give it a nice pinching, and voila. For absolute best results, cover them back up and proof them for another hour or 2 at room temp before frying. But by all means, fry them straight away if you cannot be bothered waiting. But I will show you a quick side-by-side comparison of all 3 methods that I've been talking about. And from left to right, you'll see fried straight away, fried after another hour or 2 rest. And then the last one is cold proof with the filling inside overnight, rested at room for an hour and then fried. Ironically, I actually find method 3 to be the most convenient. I actually used this method when I was making the thumbnails for this video. I had a very heavy workload that weekend and sticking them in the fridge allowed me to have a bigger window of when I needed to use them. For this method, just simply stuff the balls after that second 15-minute rest and then whack them in the old refrigerator overnight. Don't leave them in longer than 24 hours and get them out an hour before frying.
Frying things in a home kitchen in relatively deep oil can be daunting. It can be messy, it can be erratic, it can be inconvenient. So here are a few top tips on frying with oil in general. But above all else, please be safe, use an appropriate amount of oil, and know that if there is a fire of some kind, of some sort, use a damp towel to extinguish it, and do not use a jug of water. I hope everybody knows that. Tip number 1 is use peanut oil. Peanut oil. It has a higher smoke point, so it lasts longer and doesn't impact the flavor of the food as much as other mediums. Number 2 is to get one of these. It's a thermometer with a wire. That way you can just put the wire in the oil and set the alarm on it, and it'll tell you when it's come up to your desired temperature. Now we're cooking with gas. Aren't we? Tip number 3, if you don't already have a gas stovetop oven, I highly recommend get one of these little bad boys. They're cheap, and using gas means that you can manipulate the temperature of the oil easier and faster, and electric hobs, they can take a lot longer to go up and down in temperature. Tip number 4 is that bad boy there. Get a big wok, because the shape of it is conducive to frying. There's more surface area for oil. Surface area for the flame to hit. Ask Kenji Lopez. He'll tell you more about that. He knows wok's up. Number 5 is make sure you've prepped everything else up before you start frying so you can concentrate on just that one task. Laser focused. Number 6 is get yourself one of these little contraptions. So after each usage, you've got this mesh strainer. You can just pour it straight in there. It's got a heat resistant little bottom. Look at its little bottom. So you can just pour the oil straight into that, put it wherever you want, and you can reuse the oil over and over again. You don't have to worry about that shit. But once you've used the oil a little bit too much, get yourself a little tub of this as well. You add this to your shitty oil and it turns it solid forever. And then you throw it in the garbage, in the rubbish, as they say in England, in the United Kingdom. This video is already quite long, so I'm not going to get into loads of heavy details about the sauce and which tomatoes to use and all of that stuff. This video is about fried pizza. You can dip it in ketchup if you really want. I always like to keep the tomato sauce simple. The way I make tomato sauce is usually with a certain brand of tomatoes. Fry off some garlic or any other cool looking alliums. Then add your canned tomatoes. Don't forget that canned tomatoes are already cooked, so they're going to have a certain level of thickness to them and also not need to be cooked for that long. For things that I'm dipping into sauce rather than using the sauce to put on top of, I just give them a nice mashing up with a spoon rather than blitzing them. These particular tomatoes were so thick and I had to let them down a little bit with some tap water. But really I'm just warming this stuff up. I'm not cooking it. It's already cooked. And that goes for the basil. The more you cook it, the less flavor it'll have. Nice little wedge of unsalted butter finishes the sauce. Salt to taste and cracked black pepper. She's ready. Now it's time to fry these bloody pieces off. These are going to be shallow fried. I filled a wok about 1/5 with oil. I was conserving the oil because I knew I was going to demonstrate that oil solidifier. Once the oil reaches 375, put your puppy in there, not your actual puppy, and try and keep it roundabouts that heat. If you're using electric, you'll have to get it up to a bit higher because the pizza's going to cool it down somewhat. But keep it in that region, 20 to 30 degrees on either side, and they should come out nice and lovely golden like this. Simply sprinkle some Parmesan, cracked pepper, and that's it. Enjoy. Buon appetito. Listen. Please make this. Please make this. This is only like the f***ing 50th fried pizza I've eaten in a week. I've iterated this so many bloody times. I know this video took a long time. I've literally redone it 5 times, like fully. But it's because I wanted to give you this. Thanks for watching this, and I'll see you next time. Sometimes I fry slow, sometimes I fry slow, sometimes I fry slow, Jesus! Sometimes I fry slow, sometimes I fry quick. I'm more thick and tasty than a garlic bread stick. Here's a fried calzone, baby. Take a lick.